Today on Better Book Clubs, Zadie Smith's Swing Time. If you've been following my videos at all, you know that one of my arguments about the best books for book clubs to read is that they have to be a little bit challenging in order to elicit good discussion. So Zadie Smith's Swing Time is a great example of a pretty recent book published in 2016 that is a great conversation book for book clubs because it offers a little bit of a challenge in a number of different ways. The title of the novel, Swing Time, comes from the title of a Fred Astaire film that is supposedly a favorite movie of the protagonist, who's a young biracial woman growing up in London. And there's a scene, we're told, it's described to us, a scene from Swing Time in which Astaire performs in blackface. And that's one of the ways in which, in that very first chapter, Smith sets up for us what this novel is going to be about. So we understand that there's something about race, about whiteness, about blackness, about self-identity that's going to be really important in this novel. We also learn that if we're paying attention to the things that Smith is doing in the first chapter, we learn that the novel is going to be about dancing. And we also learn things about a couple of characters. One of them is a woman named Amy, who we're told is never going to text or send a message to the protagonist again. We don't know why, but we know from the opening line of the novel that she says, "It was the first day of my humiliation." So we know that something has gone terribly wrong, and it has to do with this woman, Amy. There's also a character named Layman, a man who is in that first chapter, but we don't learn very much about him at all, except that he's with the protagonist in the beginning. And we also learn from her that she says a truth was about to be revealed. And so Smith does a number of things to drive us forward into the novel, and she also is kind of like packing a suitcase for us in the beginning and letting us know about the themes that are going to play out through the novel. So things like some kind of conflict in relationships that has to do with race and identity, the idea of crossing boundaries of some kind because the protagonist says she's crossed a line of some kind. And again, dancing actually provides a structure for how the novel is going to be put together. So this is a really well-crafted novel. It's not perfect, but it's a really interesting way to talk about what's happening in Swing Time. A great conversation starter for a book club discussion. What happens from there is one of the things that makes this a challenging book. And that is that in chapter 1, after this prologue that I've just described, we're suddenly getting the story of the protagonist as a child and her childhood friend, Tracy. Tracy hasn't been mentioned to us before, so Tracy turns up and the other characters who we met in the beginning are nowhere in sight. And that's off-putting, I'm sure, to a number of readers. It makes it challenging because we have to kind of hold in our memories what we've been told in the beginning, and yet at the same time this other story starts to unfold and we have no idea how they're connected or how things are going to be put together later. Stick with it because Smith knows what she's doing and she's going to start layering these things up, and in fact the dance of the novel gets more and more frantic as the story progresses. That frantic dance, that back and forth of things happening between one story and another, makes the novel also challenging to read. And yet if you keep thinking back to that first chapter and that particular dance that was described from the film Swing Time, it helps to explain why Smith put the book together the way she did. Again, something well worth talking about in a book club discussion that doesn't always come up in discussion, having to do with the structure of the novel and some of the choices that the author made in putting it together. Plot-wise and story-wise, one of the best parts of the novel, in my opinion, is the part that's set in West Africa. So there's a celebrity character in this book who's decided that she's going to open a girls' school in West Africa with probably good intentions, but there's a really great pointed critique of these celebrity projects in here that never crosses the line over into being too didactic, but it's very much there. That's another really great opportunity for conversation in this novel. But that section of the novel is just also really fascinating and compelling to read because of all the specific detail that Smith uses to tell that part of the story. She obviously knows what she's talking about, and she's able to transport us to this small West African village. Swing Time is a great book club choice. It came out in 2016, so it's out in paperback, inexpensive to buy, well worth a read. Check it out as one of our challenging 21st century book club books. I'll be back soon with another episode of Better Book Clubs.